this time of year is all about setting those goals and making those resolutions. But what if you have failed before? Is there any sense in even setting goals? Guess what? That's what we're talking about today on Healthy Harmony. Welcome to Healthy Harmony, where we help you clarify and discuss health tactics to harmonize your life. I am your host and health coach, Jennifer Pickett, and today my guest is Wayne Salmans. Wayne has dedicated his life to developing solutions and strategies that make a significant impact on the quality of people's lives and their business. In the past decade, he has coached and trained over 5,000 entrepreneurs. He was one of the top coaches for the #1 coaching company in the world and ranked with the top 1% of realtors. He's been called the empowerment coach, the entrepreneur's mentalist, the heart coach, an extreme results guy, an epic life strategy. But you know what? His favorite title is Dad. You can find him writing, coaching, speaking, but you can also find him playing in the backyard with his kids and laughing with his beautiful wife. Wayne's passion is to empower people just like you to actively engage and participate in their own transformation and success, to be their own hero. Wayne, I am beyond excited that you've joined us for this podcast today. How are you?
I am great. Thrilled to be here. Glad we're doing this.
It's going to be fun. So, okay, I'm not even going to mess around. I'm just going to start like with the hard stuff right off the bat.
I love it.
Everybody,
right for the
good. Are you ready?
Do it. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Everybody this time of year, I mean, it's January. So everybody's like, okay, I know I need to set some goals. I need to make some resolutions because that's what you do this time of year. But dang, I've really, I'm holding on to some guilt, some shame, some disappointment because I have failed before. So I'm going to ask the tough question first. Tell me about your biggest failure.
Man, there's a bunch. I mean, it's easy to give like the high-minded answer of like, I love all my failures because they led me to where they are, where I am right now, whatever. And yet, like, I have had some things that if I could go back, I would 100% do them different, And I think probably the biggest one for me was, 10 years ago, literally had an affair, screwed my entire life up, messed my business up to the point where I lost everything. So within it's amazing how fall you can fast, or how fast you can fall, right? And it's amazing. Within a couple months, I was literally, living my best life in a sense to being, sleeping on the floor of a vacant building. And that's probably one of the biggest ones, just the impact that had on my family, my kids, the whole nine. So that was a big deal.
That's a huge one, Wayne. I didn't know you were going to go there. I mean, I appreciate that.
Let's just do it.
We said we were going to get right into it. So you didn't even mess around. So the affair and the absolute destruction of your family and sleeping on the floor. How in the world do you come back from that? Like that's not like a little bitty mistake. That's a life-altering mistake. Yeah. That's a huge failure, especially when other people are involved. So how do you get over that guilt and that shame and like pick yourself up and move forward? Because that's a big one. That's a big one.
Well, and I would love to say like, it was this one thing that just made all the difference. And yet the reality is it was a lot of different things. It was definitely a process of getting back up. And yet as I look, I think probably the biggest thing that helped me get through that, I mean, there's lots of different things. I literally wrote a book on it because what I realized is most of us don't have a process to get back up, right? Like we don't actually have a plan to get back up. We fall down, we're feeling around in the dark trying to figure out what we need to do. So for me, it really came down to getting clear on like what were the questions I was asking myself. And honestly, the biggest thing for me was realizing nobody was kind of a theme of my life now. Like nobody was coming to save me. Nobody was going to show up on a white horse and help me get back up. I literally had to be my own hero and do all the work, right? Which is, I didn't realize that I kind of had Prince Charming syndrome, right? Like I was kind of waiting for someone to show up and at least help, And it was like, dude, nobody's coming to help. Nobody's going to get you over this. You got to do all this work yourself. And I mean, you talk about guilt and shame. I think that was one of the biggest things that I didn't necessarily anticipate is just realizing like, I thought that I had failed beyond repair. And it's just like, hey, this is it. You're a failure. better. And literally, I almost took my life during that period because I really thought the world would be a better place off without me. My kids would be better off without me. I thought I had screwed up so bad that I could never get back up. And what I had to realize is that those failures were bruises. They weren't tattoos, right? It was something that I did. It wasn't necessarily who I was. And, I think one of the things that got me through that was realizing, hey, if it could get better, even if it took 20 years to get better, would it be worth it? And kind of holding on to some of those truths was some of the stuff that helped me get back up.
My goodness. Okay, so going from that, you said a few things there that I wanted to emphasize. First of all, that Prince Charming syndrome. That hey, somebody's going to come in to save me. Somebody's going to come in to fix this, or this is kind of owed to me. I need some help, and somebody can fix this for me. We have that expectation. So that's kind of an eye-opening moment for me of, hey, things are not going the way I want them to, but it's not my fault.
Yeah, if my spouse would change, or my kids would change, or if I just had a different boss, or whatever it is, if the rules would change, whatever, like all these ways we're looking for somebody just to save us.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking for someone else to save us, and we're not turning in the right direction, that's for sure. But you made a statement, you kind of slipped it in there, and I about fell out of my chair. You said that during this really difficult time, you even thought about taking your life. So tell me a little bit more about that. I know this is a difficult place to go, but I know that others have struggled and had these thoughts. So unpack that for me a little bit.
Well, and I mean, to kind of get in my head at that point, looking back, I don't think I would have necessarily admitted it out loud, but I think up until that point in my life, I probably thought suicide was kind of a selfish act. Why would someone do that? You know what I mean? They're just looking for attention or whatever it is. And yet when I realized when I was in that moment, I really believed with all my heart that everyone would be better. I was doing the world a service. I was doing my kids a service by checking out. And I remember laying on the floor getting ready to do it. And what I realized was I had this I call it a God moment. I had this moment of clarity where I realized, nobody's coming to save me, and I can either check out right now or I've got to be my own hero. And realizing that I would have to do the work. I would have to be my own hero. And it didn't get better overnight, right? I made that decision to go, all right, well, even if it got better in 20 years, even if it took that long, it'd probably be worth it to stay, and started doing those little step by little step. And it was not easy. And yet just realizing, can I get better? Could this ever get better? If this does get better, I'm going to help other people that are struggling with the same thing. Just those were the kind of things I kept having to tell myself over and over.
I can't imagine what a challenging process that was, but thank goodness for that God moment where you were like, okay, wait a minute. And I think you brought up a really good point, because even if, when we have those God moments, God still wants us to put in the work. Right. He's not going to come in and just wave a magic wand and make it all better. God doesn't work like that. And so, you were kind of realizing, okay, this is a God moment, but I've got to put in that work. I've got to do it myself. I've got to be my own hero and just put it in. So tell me more about that process, what that process looked like, because that is a huge low point. How do you go from there to being at the very top again? What does that look like?
I think for me, the first thing probably was just reestablishing, and as weird as it sounds, I think it was reestablishing my identity and realizing who I am. And I think up until that point, I had slowly crept into letting my possessions and the way people viewed me and how I looked and everything else, I had let that become my identity. And I think a big part of this was going back to who I really am. And who I really am is, is a child of God. I'm love. I'm kind. I'm ambitious. I'm resourceful. And kind of getting back to who I really am was a big piece of that. And realizing that
getting back to our identity in Jesus Christ. It's so easy to associate our identity with what we've accomplished, what we're capable of, any type of success. But even also finding that identity in our struggles and our failures, and letting that define us. So I think that's an amazing first step of realizing, hey, I have found my identity in the wrong
Amen.
things.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the next one?
So, and then I think the next step was just starting to do the work, starting to, I think the next thing was just getting that clear vision of what it could look like if I got back up. You know what I mean? So I got divorced, had mountains and mountains of debt, and going, when I had several $100,000s of debt, it felt like the end of the world. And yet realizing that, hey, when I'm making a couple $1 million a year, this won't be that big of a deal. And kind of, I had to believe in some hope in the future, realizing that me being a father isn't going to look the way I thought it was going to look, but I still can be a great dad. It's just going to be different. And I think a big part was realizing, as I went through that, like realizing me beating myself up and staying down, in a sense, wasn't actually doing anything for people around me. Like me, I think especially as high achievers, we can kind of beat ourselves up. And what I realized is I was actually getting something out of feeling like crap, right? Like when I beat myself, I would just beat the crap out of myself emotionally. And, I'm terrible, you're crap, all this stuff. And what I realized was I was actually just being a really fancy type of a victim. I was still being a victim, even though I felt like I was taking responsibility. I was just being a really fancy version of a victim. And
just that victim mentality.
I was just a victim dressed up in a tuxedo. And I realized like my kids.
Oh, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah. And my kids nothing was getting better by me not getting my shoes back on and going to make money and take care of my family, So realizing that I was just being a victim and really getting back up and starting to do the actions, right? And I think one of the things, a powerful statement that a coach told me years ago, kind of written in my mind, and said, the only way to live a perfect life is to make the next right decision. And that's kind of what I started to do. I couldn't figure out the next 20 decisions, but I could make the next right decision. And that just kind of became my mantra.
That is interesting. Yeah. Just, what's the next right decision? But I love how you put your kids into the equation and realizing that you weren't doing anybody any favors and you weren't teaching anything to your family if you stayed at this point, and using that victim mentality. Woe is me. I keep getting all the tough breaks. I've had all kinds of awful luck here, and really kind of pulling yourself together and keeping it simple. I also heard you say that, like keeping it simple. What is that next right first step? What's that next step? What's the next step here? So I really love that. So what was next after that? And
that was, kind of coming up with my list of questions, which were, and I have 8 different ones, but some of those questions are, what can I control? What can I not control? Right. And then what's next right thing to do, but really coming up with kind of my list of questions to help me take actions and to realize that I needed to, basically pre-plan for these kinds of things. I need to come up with a way to pre-plan for failure, or for when things go wrong. So kind of, I've made that my mission over the next several years, was to figure out how do I teach people how to get back up. It's funny that in our physical world, we have all these strategies for getting back up. It's like you have a spare tire, you have a first aid kit somewhere, you've got a hiding key somewhere, around your house. All these different things. We have all these different ways we've prepared for failure in our physical world, and we have hardly any ways we've prepared for struggles or failure in our mental world. And I just became on a mission going, look, I need more tools to get back up. I need more tools to deal with tough days. I need more tools to deal with failure. And building a toolbox of those kinds of tools has been really huge for me.
That is interesting. It does remind me, I got to hear Jason Witten speak, and he's just, phenomenal with the Dallas Cowboys. And he made reference to how he visualizes game plays. And so he visualizes, what it looks like when things go right and those plays are perfectly executed. But he also said he visualizes what to do when things go wrong, when that play fails. And I thought that was key, and that really plays into what you just said, having a plan for when things go wrong, because things are not just going to go the way we want them to. They're not going to go the way we plan out, which is really plays into our big discussion today with these goals and resolutions. What happens when things don't go well? What happens when that resolution fails, like in January, before we even get into the next month? So let me ask you this. What advice would you give somebody someone very similar to you who is just ready to start again in any area of life, what advice would you give them?
I mean, how many hours do we have? Um,
Yeah, right.
I think it would start with, getting as simple as this is, it's getting clear on where you want to go. And it's funny, I teach, I teach, groups of people all the time. And, around this time of year, I say, who wants to have the best year of your life? And every hand in the room goes up. Then I go, awesome. What does the best year of your life look like? And almost no one can give me an answer, right? They can't actually describe to
That's
me
so
what a great
interesting.
year for them would look like. They go, you're right, made a lot of money and I didn't have a whole lot of problems. It's like, okay, well, that I don't know what that means. So I think the first thing is to get an idea of where you actually want to go. Who do you want to be? Not just so much what do you want to do, but who do you want to be? And I think that one of the reasons why so many New Year's resolutions fail is because people focus on what they want to have, not what or they focus on what they want to gain and not necessarily who they want to become. They focus on I want to lose 20 pounds, not I
Yes.
want to be someone that eats healthy. They focus on I want to get this, I want to make $1 million instead of who do you need to become that naturally makes $1 million because of who they are. So I think you got to focus on where you want to go. I think it's a big thing. And then I think you have to realize most people they do one or two things. They get clear on where they want to go and they go, I'm all in. And I think what's way more powerful is to get clear on where you want to go, then evaluate what it's going to cost and then make the decision. I think we skip that middle step a lot, right?
That cost
Yes.
risk
Yeah.
analysis.
Well, what's
Is that
it
what
actually
you're
going to
referring
take? People
to?
go, I want to lose 20 pounds. They go, awesome. Are you willing to go to the gym 4 days a week? And if the answer is no, we need to reassess the goal instead of just beat ourselves up about it. Does that make sense? Like we got to figure out what's it going to cost and am
It
I willing to
does.
pay that price? I think is a big part. And then I think the third thing is we skip the practice phase. And this is something I don't hear people talk about very often. I talk about like the kind of the 4 P's for people all the time. You got to plan, prepare, and then you have to practice before you actually have a process. And I think people miss the practice phase of it's going to take a little while to figure out what's going to work for you, what's not going to work for you. It's going to figure out you need 5 alarms set in the morning instead of 1. It's going to take you a minute to figure out I need an accountability partner. I need whatever. Like, you've got to go through a little bit of the practice phase to figure out what's
So
going to work and what's
interesting.
not going
Yeah.
to work.
Because I think with so many of us, especially for high achievers, we're like, no, just put me in, coach. Like, I'm ready. And we kind of miss that practice phase. And I think that it's the practice that gives us momentum. So I talk with my coaching clients a lot about momentum, making some very small, sticky changes. Small meaning there's so little, it almost seems insignificant. Sticky meaning, hey, it's so simple, it's easy to stick with. And how do we get that ball going in the right direction? How do we gain that momentum? And it's consistency. It's consistently doing those things, and it's practicing over and over and over. I mean, there's a reason why these sports teams practice a lot. They spend a lot of time in preparation. And I think sometimes we forget that about life. So I think practice is absolutely huge. Go over those 4 P's again. I really like those.
Go to the gym in the morning. Hey, I want to go to the gym in the morning. So the first P is you plan, right? Hey, I'm going to get up at this time. Here's where I'm going to go. Then you prepare. What does that mean? Lay my clothes out or, whatever I got to do, set an alarm. And then the practice is if I did that stuff and I still didn't get up on time, then I need to do something different. Maybe I need to set 2 alarms. Okay, well, I did that and that still didn't work. Okay, now I need to set 3 alarms to get an accountability partner. Okay, awesome. Now that's working. And if I can do that consistently, now that can be a process, right? So you plan, you prepare, then you practice until you can actually establish a process that's going to work for you, whether it's time management, health management, whatever it is, leaning into kind of the practice phase. And obviously, we're not talking about 7 years of practice, but if it's going to take you a couple weeks to figure out what's going to actually work for you, I allow yourself that period. And like you said, I think there's this big thing of especially high achievers, we throw in the towel, and it's really a victim mindset, right? If you throw in the towel when you screw up the second day on your diet, you're really just being a big baby, right? It's gonna happen. And stop blaming yourself, blame the process. Now, what I mean by that is people blame themselves a lot because they're relying on willpower. Willpower will screw you up and let you down. So it was their process that messed them up. It's you had ice cream in the fridge. Get rid of that stuff, right? It was the process. You didn't have an accountability partner that was going to, charge your credit card if you weren't there on time. It was the process and the system. Stop beating yourself up. Start focusing on the process and the system you need to change that will allow you to have at the end of the day, a process that works for you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, the health coach in me is literally jumping up and down. I'm tied down by these headphones, but I'm jumping up and down. I think this is fantastic stuff and just so very simple. And I think that's what we need. You know, a lot of these complicated processes, it just does not work, and it gets us very overwhelmed. Right. And typically, when people are overwhelmed, they shut down. Right. So you work with a lot of highly successful people. A lot. You are the coach. You're the dude, and you are leading people to a lot of success, not just in their business but in their life. So tell me, like, what habits are you seeing in highly successful people?
You know, and I think habits go two ways. I think there's good habits and then there's bad habits. You know, some of the bad habits I see a lot is a lot of the high achievers I work with use hammer all the time, right? It's like just more, beat it out. You know what I mean? And they work really, really hard. Sometimes that actually holds them back. You know what I mean? It blinds them from other opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then some of the good habits are they do eventually come to terms with the consistency. They, like you were talking about just a second ago, they come to terms with like the small consistent actions that really do add up. And I think one of the things that we're able to help them with is, you know, keep them focused on the right stuff and help them ignore the stuff that isn't serving them.
I love it. It's that consistency. And you brought up a really good point, because I've noticed the same thing. I've got some clients who are very highly successful, type A, just achievers, just driven, performance driven achievers. And what I've noticed with all of those folks is that there's a tendency, as we're just pushing, we just keep pushing, and we're burning the candle at both ends. And then we hit this extreme burnout. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Let's unpack that. What does this look like to take a very, what I call a holistic, whole self approach to self-care, to taking care of yourself when it comes to physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health? What does that look like? And do you think this all goes together?
I think it all does. And a couple words I'm so sick and tired of hearing are, burnout, stress, and overwhelm. And here's why those words tick me off so much, because they aren't actual things, right? Like it's amazing how, a month and a half ago, everyone, so many people start talking about burnout. And it was so interesting because I guarantee you, if a year was 3 months longer, if it was 15 months instead of 12 months, I guarantee you I wouldn't hear about burnout for another 2.5 months, right? It's this mindset thing, and it's such BS. People go, I'm so burned out, I'm so stressed out, whatever it is. And stress isn't always a negative thing, but we've got these mindsets that are just messing us up. And what I think...
Well, we make it our mantra. We just make it our mantra. Someone says, hey, how are you? And our first response is, I'm so busy. Yeah. We're so busy. We're so busy.
Nuts.
It's our
mantra. It's become our natural way of being, and it's messed up. Like if you really, I mean, you know about stress probably way more than I do. But when you look at stress, like what does it do? Your blood pressure goes up. Your bowels say, "Hey, we don't need to work right now." Right? Like your body literally, stress for a moment's okay. If you're holding on to stress, is terrible for you. And what you realize is most people go, I go, well, what are you stressed out? They can't even tell me. Right? They go, I'm so stressed. But stress in and of itself isn't an actual thing, but it can cause more stress, which is interesting. So I think it's
our response.
So it's going through the smoke and down to the fire, right? The smoke is I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burned out, blah, 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 blah. And you got to go through all that smoke and go down to the fire. And people are dying because they're dying of smoke inhalation because they never get to the source of the issue, right? And in most house fires, people die from smoke inhalation before they actually die from fire. And it's the same thing in business, same thing in health. People die from smoke inhalation before they get down to the root issue of what's actually causing this, what's actually not working. Yes. Right. So I think our job is, and like you do this all the time, right? Going to what's actually not working in your world and diving down to the source cause of this stuff that's really going on. And for so many people, it's they have a life that's not sustainable. Their schedule, their health, their routines aren't sustainable. So for most of the high achievers you and I work with, right? They drive at 250 miles an hour, then they crash and burn. They got to spend a week in the hospital, right? Or they got to take this, 7 vacations, whatever it is. They go back down to zero. They go 250 miles an hour, crash and burn. 250 miles, right? So it's figuring out what's a sustainable way of living that's intentional, that's focused, that's in momentum, that's not this up and down all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just that it reminds me of that saying, Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting
Yeah.
different results. And so it's time for something different. It's time for us to take that very, very holistic approach and stop this extreme and maybe do some
Yeah.
things differently.
Yeah.
What has held us back in the past? And you're exactly right. That's something that I'm talking about
Yes.
every single day is, hey, let's get to the root of the
Yes.
issue here. If you're overweight and you seem to not be able to lose weight, why is that?
Yes.
Let's get to that root issue and really explore that. So we know what's holding you back. You really can't have a hard time being
Yes.
successful unless you take a moment to look back and go, okay, why haven't I been successful in the
Yes.
past? What's made me unsuccessful at this in the past? So that leads me to my next question. Give us some tips to keep in mind when they're like, okay, I know I need to set some goals. I need to make some resolutions, but dang, I don't even know where to start. I think I've messed up on this in the past.
Yeah.
Where do I start? What are some simple tips for
Well,
setting
I
those
think
goals
this goes
and
right back to what you and I were
resolutions?
talking about just a second ago. It's like when you have a frustration, instead of taking medication, do an investigation. So when you have
I
a
love it.
frustration,
Say that
yeah,
one more time,
when
Wayne.
you
That's
have
good.
a
That's good
frustration,
stuff.
instead of taking medication, do an investigation. So how many people go, man,
Love it.
I feel like crap, and they just take a bunch of aspirin, and instead of figuring out why do they feel like crap, and I see this for high achievers all the time, right? Instead of figuring out why something isn't working, they just use more hammer, they just use more aspirin, they just use more whatever it is. So instead of figuring out what's causing the frustration, so if someone's frustrated that they haven't hit their yearly goals, instead of just setting new ones and grabbing hammer and just trying that this year, hopefully this year will be different. Let's do an investigation. Let's figure out what's causing you not to hit the goals. Do you have goals that are in conflict? Do you have goals that aren't serving you? Do you have goals that you think are supposed to be your goals yet aren't really your goals? So I think you've got to go dive into that. And a lot of times when people aren't hitting their goals, it's because they're nailing an unconscious goal. They're not hitting a conscious goal because they're nailing an unconscious goal. And what you and I both do is we dive through that. We do an investigation to help figure out what's really going on, and then we can do something instead of using just hammer or just taking a bunch of pills, aspirin, whatever it is, hoping it'll just magically get better. So I think the biggest thing is to figure out get real, figure out what's causing this, and go to the source. That dive through the smoke, get to the actual source of the issue. What's causing me to not hit my goals? And as you are, I think one of the things I love so much about what you do is you and I have the same philosophy. It's like there's not one size fits all, right? So it's not like, hey, there's just one answer for everybody. It's different for everybody. It's a different schedule, it's a different set of routines, it's different goals, and really figuring out what's that customized plan to help someone know, if I follow this plan, I'm going to be able to succeed, because this actually is real, doable, and it works for me.
It's a personalized, customized approach. And we have to realize that our life, our health is not, our family is not a one size fits all. And I think we kind of get into that comparison game, especially when it comes to health and business. We just start comparing. We're looking at Joe over there, and we're like, hey, he's really got it together. He's doing great. Or he followed this diet. I think I'm going to do the same and have the same results. And we've got to take that very customized, individualized approach. So you brought up just using someone else to really help you dig deep and get to the root of the issue. So you and I do this for a living, and we absolutely love what we do, because we love empowering and encouraging others to take action and really putting together that customized approach for them. So let me ask you this. How would somebody know when they've gotten to that point where they know they need some assistance? How do they know, okay, you know what? I don't know that I'm doing too well on my own. How do I know if I need assistance? How do I know if I need a business coach, a life coach, a counselor, a health coach?
Well, I
How
think
do they
you have
know?
to ask yourself, do I have a condition? And I think the condition that a lot of people have is human. And if you have the human condition, you probably need some help. And here's what here's what I mean by that. The human condition means I'm naturally going to go back to what's easy. The human condition is like an object at rest typically stays at rest, right? Like I have a condition called human, and that's going to mean I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need some other people to help me along the way. If I'm going to reach my full potential. If you don't want to reach your full potential, go do it on your own. But I love there's a quote, I think by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, you're not going to live long enough to make all the mistakes on your own, so you better learn from other people.
Oh,
And I think
like that.
the people
like
that you and I work with, they could all do it on their own. It's just going to take them way longer and cost them way too much, whether it's time, money, or energy, right? By doing it with us, they're able to do it faster and a whole lot less beat up. So I don't think it's a question of like, can someone do it on their own? They absolutely can. Everybody you and I coach could go do it on their own, right? Like they're all awesome, amazing people, yet you're fighting with two hands tied behind your back if you're trying to do this without someone else's insight and seeing what you don't see.
Yes. And I know for me personally, it's setting that ego to the side. I've got this thing of people need to think I have it all together. And man, that is a huge burden. So it takes a little bit more for me to ask for help.
I thought I was broken because I needed help, right? I was like, man, if I was just more motivated, if I was just more driven, if I was just more whatever, I wouldn't need help, right? Like I viewed it as man, I was kind of messed up if I needed help. And then I realized is every single person I look up to, like every person that I'm aspiring to, like I really look up to those people. They all have coaches, accountability, mentors. And I'm like, well, if all these people need it, I probably need it too. I'm not broken. I just have that freaking condition called human. And I'm going to need some help if I'm ever going to reach my full potential. So it's not you're broken. I actually was smart by getting leverage on myself in areas I needed to get some leverage on myself.
For sure. It's getting over ourselves enough to ask for help and say, look, I don't have it all figured out. I'm not going to have it all figured out because there's just a lot out there and it's overwhelming. And it's just nice to have somebody in your corner kind of guiding you and directing you. So I know for me, having a health coach myself, having a business coach and receiving counseling in the past, it's just so very valuable. God, it's just some good stuff. But like I said, for me, it was getting over myself and getting over that dang ego. So Wayne, this has been the most phenomenal discussion, just very enlightening and empowering for folks. So I cannot thank you enough for being a part of this and spending time with us today. I want to make sure that people know where to find you. So tell us about that.
Probably the best thing somebody can do is go on Amazon and grab my book, The Art of Getting Back Up. And The Art of Getting Back Up is literally took me a decade to write it, and it's all about how do you pre-plan for tough times, or if you're in a tough time, how do you get back up quick? And it's all about helping people recover quickly, and it's written for high achievers. How do they recover quickly? How do they work with the people around them to help them recover quickly? And it's real. That's probably the best thing to do. Go grab that book on Amazon, and then obviously they can find us on social media. Just most of my handles are just Wayne Salmans. And then go find us on social media, and love to join the conversation.
I love it. And then also HeroNation.com is another place they can find you. Guys, I'm going to tell you this book. I have this book. I've read this book. It is absolutely phenomenal. Just the vulnerability in this book. It's very, very practical. And so if you have failed, and I know you have, because we all have. If you have failed, you have to read this book. It's fantastic. So I'm so glad you gave them, and we'll make sure as we push this out there, that you have the direct link on Amazon to get that book, because I don't want you to miss out. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to also subscribe to us on your favorite platform of choice, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. You can find us at Inspire Healthy Harmony. You can also join in the Facebook discussion about failure, about goals, about resolutions, what gets in your way. We'll have a rousing discussion right there. And as always, you can also find us at inspirehealthyharmony.com is our website. And so I'm so glad you joined us today. A great discussion, Wayne. Until next time, y'all have a good one. Bye, y'all.